Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the City of Bloomington Council to order. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence and a silent prayer and reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please go ahead and call the roll?
Councilmember Mathey,
Here.
Councilmember Bolin,
Here.
Councilmember Motney,
Here.
Councilmember Emig,
Here.
Councilmember Becker,
Here.
Councilmember Urban,
Here.
Councilmember Ward,
Here.
Councilmember Crable,
Here.
Councilmember Crumpler,
Here.
Mayor Millawamway.
Here. So there was a bit of an error in terms of the mayor's annual address, which went into the regular agenda, but it was intended to be at the top of the agenda. So unless there are any objections, I'd like to go ahead and complete that now. If everyone's okay with it. Okay, I'm seeing some nods and some thumbs up, so thank you. I'll go ahead and do that. So thank you all. Wanted to say that, city routine gets very busy, but I think it is very important for us to pause and take stock of some of the accomplishments and the challenges that we faced this past year, particularly in 2021. So first, we must be thankful for the things that we have. Having had the opportunity to travel back in December, I came back with a renewed sense of optimism in what we do as a city and how we work together as a community. At the core of our success, I think there's a relentless demand from our citizens that we continue to meet their aspirations. And there's also a similar drive by elected officials and staff to meet the demands of the public. To that extent, I want to thank our council members for their commitment to make our city better. We all come from all walks of life, and it is our differences that make us stronger because we all bring something valuable to the table. I'm proud of the way we have worked collaboratively despite those differences. We have managed to accomplish a lot together despite COVID. While this gives us many reasons to be optimistic about the future, it is important for us to remain vigilant even as the numbers decrease. COVID is certainly not the only challenge we've had to face. Last June, we experienced record precipitation that challenged our stormwater and sewer system. I'm proud of the way our staff and council responded to these less than ideal circumstances. The net result is an acceleration of 3 years on the project completion for the Locust Colton CS separation project, seeing an end in 2027, a detention basin near East Street, other possibilities to be considered through hydraulic modeling that should bring increased peace of mind to residents in adjacent neighborhoods. Despite those challenges and the many others that come our way, there are many reasons for the almost palpable optimism that I sense around the city, the community. Bloomington continues to move forward economically, and it is important to highlight investments made in the community by various businesses, community organizations, including the city of Bloomington. Ferrero broke ground last fall on a 76,000 square foot, $75 million chocolate processing plant, their first in North America and only their third in the world. They also remodeled a portion of their existing 186,000 square foot facility to the tune of $26 million. We also have Aldi, the 21,750 square foot new building to the tune of $2,800,000. The YMCA is in the process of completing its new fitness facility, 76,000 square feet of a new building for $23 million. There was also expansion at the Illinois Cancer Care Facility, 6,000 plus square feet, a new addition and renovation of existing 8,300 square feet for $3.4 million. It would also be impossible for me not to mention Rivian. First, it is important to give credit to our neighbors to the north for their work in attracting Rivian to the community. But it is also undeniable that Rivian's presence and growth has yielded many benefits for the city of Bloomington. We are thankful for that, and we stand ready to assist in collaboration with the town of Normal to ensure that our community can capitalize on the many opportunities resulting from Rivian's growth. I also wanted to highlight some notable progress in particular areas. In the area of construction, we've had more than $100 million in new construction that made its way to Bloomington in 2021, including more than $20 million in new housing starts. 2022 is off to a record start, as well as more than $24 million in construction started in our community in January, including $2.1 million in new housing. As far as business construction, we've had a new Speed Lube oil change facility on Holiday Drive. Joanne Fabrics relocated to the former Toys R Us location. Renovations at Sam Lehman on Commerce Parkway, former Bloomington High School redevelopment, Westminster Village renovations. With all the talk of housing shortage, I thought it would be important to highlight that we've seen apartment buildings adding additional units. Lincoln Apartments added 56 units, Brookridge Heights, 32 units, Garrick Drive, 12 units, Revolutionary, 40 units, Fox Creek, 20 units, Pheasant Ridge, 26 units. In terms of restaurants, it would be unlike us not to have a lot of happenings in the restaurant scene. As I've often said that this is our local sport. Texas Roadhouse, an 8,000 square foot new building for $1.3 million. A new Domino's coming to West Market Street. Panda Express at Truckers Lane. Lulu's Pizza on the corner of Clinton and Washington. A remodel of Olive Garden at Bloomington Commons. A remodel of Jersey Mike's on North Veterans. A remodel of the beer tasting room at the Lynx at Island Grove, and also a remodel of Harmony Korean Barbecue on South Veteran. As far as investments made by the city of Bloomington in the community, I've already mentioned the Locust Colton project. In the parks area, we've planted 525 trees and maintained a Tree City USA status. In terms of the recreation division, SOAR provided recreation in-person programs in a safe manner and received new participants. 1 SOAR athlete and 4 coaches were selected to represent Team Illinois for the USA Games over the summer in Orlando, Florida. The Bloomington Ice Center staff kept the facility open for most of the pandemic and have returned to providing pre-pandemic programming. We reopened Holiday Pool after 2020 COVID shutdown. The BCPA turned the lights back on after the closure and hosted 20 events in the fall. Grossinger Motors Arena served the community and region during COVID as a vaccination site. We also hosted 2 concerts, Lauren Daigle and Casting Crowns, successfully. Both shows were rescheduled due to COVID. Other investments by the city of Bloomington: O'Neill Pool. The groundbreaking for this $12 million facility took place in October. The bids are out now. Final action is expected in weeks and hoping to be open in the summer of 2023. The library, taking steps toward renovation and expansion to issue bonds up to $70 million. We've also secured at the library a $5.6 million Public Library Construction Act grant from the Illinois State Library. And we've also secured an $11,000 American Rescue Plan Act grant from the Illinois State Library for Workforce Development Series. Bloomington is on the rise, and people outside the community are taking notice and showing more interest. That is why, over the course of the next few years, as we look to attract even more businesses to Bloomington, it will be important for us to put our best foot forward. I believe the investments we have made in facilities like O'Neill Pool, the library, and our road repair to the tune of $7.2 million a year will help showcase our community in the best way possible. The way we speak about our beloved city is also going to be very important. I believe as citizens, you are our most important asset in promoting our city. And I encourage you to speak positively about our city, whether in person or on social media. I also want to take this opportunity to thank our staff. They have been challenged in many ways by the pandemic, but time and time again have risen to the occasion to perform the critical services we rely on. I want to particularly thank our police department, who of late have been challenged by individuals making bad decisions. Yet they have risen to the challenge as they, more than anybody, understand that public safety is the foundation of economic prosperity. Their swift reaction to incidents that has led them to quickly apprehending the responsible individuals. While they are not able to share broadly how they go about their work, let me just tell you that after being briefed, I came away impressed and very confident about the work they do and the safety of our community. I would be remiss if I did not give a heartfelt thank you to the Bloomington Fire Department for responding to a record number of incidents in 2021 in this challenging COVID era. Both police and fire continue to ensure the safety of the citizens in Bloomington. Moving forward, you can anticipate more exciting developments for Bloomington, such as the Hamilton Road improvements. The project represents the final connection of a 7.2-mile east-west transportation improvement along the south portion of Bloomington on Hamilton Road and a merging west side street called Fox Creek Road. This final Hamilton connection comprises 3,000 linear feet of new roadway from Bond Street to Commerce Parkway, plus widening of Hamilton from Commerce to Morrissey Drive along approximately 1,000 linear feet of Hamilton Road east of the New Street section. Hamilton Road construction plans, permitting, agreements with the railroad, and land acquisition are progressing with anticipation of a fall letting and construction beginning in 2023. In our downtown Bloomington is recognized as the leading program among the national network of more than 1,200 neighborhoods and communities who share both a commitment to creating high quality places and to building stronger communities through preservation-based economic development. All Main Street America accredited programs meet a set of national accreditation standards of performance as outlined by Main Street America. Downtown hosts more than 50 events annually, and you can anticipate that we will continue to provide more fun programs for the community to enjoy and promote available space and work with developers to bring new ventures to town. We will continue to support efforts to diversify our housing stock. We continue to promote the city of Bloomington as a great place to live and support a diversified housing stock by providing letters of support for those developers that apply for low-income housing tax credits. In January, we issued 9 new single-family building permits, up 4 from the prior year. We currently have another 52-unit affordable apartment complex in plan review, and the anticipated completion for that is in 2023. We will continue to work together to increase the availability of our workforce and enhance our ability to attract more businesses. Our businesses in Bloomington are the backbone of this community, keeping our economy viable. As our downtown areas continue to be remodeled and repurposed, the heart of the city beats louder. The success of the businesses that opened in 2021 throughout the city will inspire others to develop here in our hometown. We've also partnered with Heartland Community College to provide GED and work readiness programs. We continue to promote the city of Bloomington as a great place to live, work, and play through social media and print. So the future for Bloomington is bright indeed, and I invite all of you to join in our efforts to make our city even greater than it is. I could not be prouder to say that I am from Bloomington, Illinois. Thank you. And no thunderous applause, but that's okay. Thank you. So next item on the agenda is recognition and appointments. Madam Clerk, do we have any?
So we actually this evening just have a recognition it says recognition of the City of Bloomington's American Heart Association Gold Level Workplace Health. And we do have 3 members from HR on the line as well. I don't know if Tim, you were wanting to speak before? Nope. You have Nicole Albertson, Human Resources Director, and then also 2 of her staff, Tina Swanson and Josh Hansen on the line.
Okay. Nicole, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you. So as Leslie said, we have Josh Hansen, our compensation benefits manager, on the line for the city, and Tina Swanson, our benefits analyst, who also serves as our wellness coordinator. The credit for this achievement not only goes to the wellness efforts of all of our employee staff, but of the efforts of Tina Swanson, who works very hard to build a culture of health and wellness at the city. I would also like to point out that this is our 11th year receiving this recognition, and received it even during a pandemic, which is, I believe, to be remarkable. So I will turn it over to Tina if she wants to say a few words, but I do think the recognition, goes to Tina. She works very hard to build that culture. So thank you, Tina, for your work.
Thanks, Nicole. We're happy to be recognized again by the American Heart. Quick thanks to leadership, you, Nicole, Josh, Tim, for all your support. And we look forward to offering more wellness opportunities to our employees in the upcoming year.
And I can't think of a better day to be recognized by the American Heart Association than on Valentine's Day. So
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
pretty cool event. Thank you.
Yeah, and that is awesome. Thank you all for the great work that you do to keep our employees healthy. Really appreciate it. Okay, so next item on the agenda is public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody here for public comment?
We did not receive any emailed public comment, but we do have 3 people physically present and then 1 available remotely.
Okay.
And if you want to read your statement first, and then
Oh,
we'll start
sure.
with Lori Bergner to follow.
Okay, awesome. Public comment is an opportunity for speakers to provide their views and feedback to the city council. It is also an opportunity for the city council to listen and hear diverse points of view. To maximize the impact of public comment and show respect for the expression of all views, speakers should maintain civility and focus on city issues. Speakers must identify themselves for the record, but are not required to give their address. Each speaker is given the floor for 3 minutes, and the council does not respond or engage in debate. Any speaker that engages in threatening or disorderly behavior will be deemed out of order and their time ceased. Thank you.
All right, so first up, we have Lori Bergner. Lori, if you could press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. And actually, I would like to send this in as an email to you, if I can, after I'm done. So this is Lori Bergner, and I'm representing the League of Women Voters of McLean County, asking for reconsideration of the proposed penalty code, which will allow collection agency fees to be charged against anyone the city has a judgment against. The amendment would also allow the city to charge costs and fees with respect to attorneys and/or private collection agencies retained by the city to anyone who fails to comply with a traffic citation. We're requesting that the proposed revision be pulled from the consent agenda and be postponed for further study. In 2020, the League conducted a study of the fines and fees in effect in our legal system. It found that they pose undue hardship on low-income individuals who bear an unfair share of the cost of our legal system. The League found that sending unpaid fines and fees to collection, which automatically adds 30% to the amount owed, so that low-income individuals cannot, when they cannot pay a fine, sending it to collections only damages their credit rating. If they're able to pay the debt, it often comes at the cost of other important things they need, such as medication. Proposing this change at this time of high inflation, when many are having difficulty keeping up with higher costs for staples such as food and gas, is particularly onerous. The City of Bloomington already sends unpaid claims to collections. This proposed revision adds that fees or costs incurred by the city with respect to such agencies be charged to the debtor. It also adds that citations for parked vehicles will now be sent to collections. Our county court system, which sends fines and fees to collections, allows requests from defendants to not send to collections or to bring it back from collections, something that is not included in this proposed code. Furthermore, there are many counties in Illinois that do not send uncollected fines and fees to collections at all, including Champaign next door. Retired Judge Arnold Blockman told me they consider using collections to be very bad for low-income individuals as they damage credit ratings, which just cause further financial difficulties for them. In the League's 2021 program on the effect of fines and fees, retired Judge Leanne Hill noted that, quote, "The fines and fees affect the working poor more than anyone. One infraction can snowball to them losing virtually anything. They can't provide for their family anymore because they can't drive their car to work. They can't keep that job, they can't drive their kids to school or daycare, and then the collection calls start." Author and longtime criminal justice reporter Edith Brady Lunny noted the crippling economic impact of exorbitant fines and fees with compounding penalties for non-payment. It threatens many people's financial security and the welfare of their families, she said. The initial bipartisan Criminal and Traffic Assessment Act, a reform law that streamlined and standardized fines and fees, allowed for a waiver or sliding scale for those with incomes up to 400% of the federal government's poverty levels, a recommendation that was left out for traffic offenses in the final act.
Thank you,
Retired
Lori.
Chief.
I think your 3 minutes are up, unfortunately. Sorry.
Oh, all right. Well, I was almost
Are
done.
You're sending it to us by email, correct?
Yes, and I didn't know how to send that, but I would like to.
You can submit it to publiccomment@cityblm.org.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, next.
All right, next up, we'll have David Eads, and then to follow Gary Lambert, and they're in person.
Okay.
The caller just made a good point. Anthony Scalias was once asked, "Do politicians hear us anymore?" And his response was pretty good. He said they hear us, they just don't listen to us. There's a lot of topics and issues, such as the one just discussed, where the city's trying to figure out how to get more money in. Maybe it should be, what do we need to do to adjust our budget? Be a little better at managing the monies. You spoke of all the achievements here in the community of late. But still, the roads have just got listed as one of the worst in the country. That's not an accomplishment to hang your hat on. There's an agreement between the community and the local government, and that's to provide basic services. But it seems more and more we want to spend money. Bonds for a library. What did I hear? $70 million worth of bonds? Can't afford the money to build it, so we're going to do bonds and we're going to pay interest for X amount of times and then figure out a way to pay back the principal. The community as a whole is tired of it. The main topic I come here tonight to talk about, though, is our schools. The mandates that are being placed on these children. I don't know if you've been following what the parents are saying and what's being said at these school board meetings, but one thing's came out clear. Students are being harassed and bullied by teachers and administrators. I just notified today, District 87 and Unit 5 are getting lawsuits filed against them. Multiples. Same thing's going to happen if the government, City Hall doesn't start listening to us. When you did put it to a vote, they didn't listen. And I understand most of you weren't here for it. But we've got the best example of the city government not listening. And that's that Coliseum right over there. We as a community said no. The government body said, we don't care. Your community's tired of that. This collection thing, who's that benefit? It benefits the lawyers. It benefits the city in somewhat of a way. They maybe got a little small percentage of what they might have got collected before they put these people in. Stop and think. Listen to your community for a change. That's all we're asking. Because if it's not being asked, we're going to find a different direction in which to get it handled, whether it be the legal system or not. You're a corporation, meaning you are a business. We are the client. We don't like the negotiation table.
Thank you.
Next up,
Next.
we have Scott Steinling, and then, oh, I'm sorry, I did tell you, Gary, you're right. Sorry, I apologize about that. We will have Scott Steinling to follow. Thanks.
Good evening. I'd like to take the council back 5 years. I believe Mboka is the only one remaining from that time period. The major topic of the council at that time was structural deficit. Had meetings on it. Spent a lot of time on it. What they came up with was a 1% sales tax increase. 1/2 of 1%, I believe it was 4.8 million, was to be designated strictly for the deficit reduction. I would submit to you that we do not have that deficit anymore. And in all fairness to the citizens, that 0.5% should be rolled back. It's become a slush fund for all kinds of good activities, including 4 million that we used out of the general fund there to pay off or to reduce the bonding for the pool. We're going to spend over half as much on the Coliseum as we are for the streets. Another 1/4% of that sales tax increase was designated for infrastructure, including streets and sidewalks. A lot of this goes back to the gentleman just before me. This council has gotten to the place where they're looking for all kinds of projects and saying, we've got the money for it. When this came up for a hearing for the budget year of 17, I believe it was, I spoke in opposition, saying that it was the most regressive type of tax that you can pass. Speaking of which, I just got my January NICOR bill for gas. I actually used less gas than I did last year. My city utility tax went up 64%. I'm sure you'll put it to good use, but if you're going to be honest with the citizens, roll back that 0.5% sales tax. And once again, that was trying to hit the recommended 15% reserve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Next.
And last up, Scott Steinling.
I would like to say that the streets in this town are absolutely pathetic, as Mr. Lambert had just indicated, and the gentleman before him. Right out in front of my house, there was a storm drain. The storm drain is sunk. The city does nothing about it. The sidewalks are up and down. There are people I've seen with walkers just about trip and fall and go back to their house. There's ice all over. Even though I keep it clean in front of my drive, I'm not going to do between the houses. You know, I don't know what this city's waiting for. Are they waiting for a lawsuit or not? I hope not. But the city has money for everything, but they don't have money to maintain the streets. There are potholes every place in town. And I've been preaching this for years and nothing gets done. But you've got money for everything else. You can raise taxes. You can raise the gas tax. And I thought that was to go to the roads, but it didn't. Went into the slush fund evidently. I don't know, maybe. And another thing, the garbage was not picked up on, realized it was a snowy day, but on Labor Day or Monday holidays, they don't collect on Monday, but they pick it up double up on Monday, on Tuesday. And they pick up Monday and Tuesdays are out. If I'm right, Tim? And so, I get sick and tired of people saying, well, we're not going to collect this week because of the snow. Well, I'm sorry. It's an act of God. Maybe it's another way for the city to pay some more money to the workers. I don't know. And to reduce the service to the taxpayers. If a private business would operate in this manner, they'd be out of business in a heartbeat. But the city raised taxes and you got two choices, pay it or do without. The city water bills, they keep going up and up and up and up. And the service keep going down and down and down. I don't know how much more has to happen. Maybe you're waiting for somebody to. I did hit a pothole once year, and it was because of a city street, and paid it immediately. The city backed off and said, we're not going to cover it. What are you going to do? Fight City Hall? I think I made my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody else?
No further public comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that members of the council would like to have removed? Councilmember Ward?
Yeah, I'd like to please pull 7J and 7L.
Okay. Looks like Councilmember Craybill.
Thank you, Mayor. 7F, as in Frank.
Frank, okay. Okay, thank you. I don't see anybody else. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 7J, 7L, and 7F?
I will make that motion.
Okay, Councilmember Bolin, as reliable as ever, making the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Crumpler. Madam Clerk, voice vote, right?
Yes, that is correct. Councilmember Matthey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Urban,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, the item passes. There are no nays to announce. And now we're gonna move to the items that were pulled and the order that they were pulled. So we'll go with Councilmember Ward with item 7J.
And I'll actually speak to both of those because
Okay.
they're kind of a package,
Okay.
really. I've asked for these two items to be pulled from the consent agenda because I've heard enough feedback from neighbors that I do not want to let them move forward without making a couple of comments. Specifically, I will be voting for these two items because they have met the standards set out in the city's plan and because they address the very real issue of affordable housing in our community. But that said, I also want to give voice to concerns raised by neighbors regarding increased traffic, pedestrian safety, the condition of streets, debris from previous projects, and problems with flooding related to a culvert. I see all of these as issues that would benefit from a neighborhood meeting in which city staff can hear directly from residents and see for themselves what the neighbors are talking about. And I will be reaching out to staff to arrange such a meeting. I also would like to go on record encouraging the developers to reach out to the neighbors to hear their concerns, and I hope head off future issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments related to those two items? Okay, seeing none, would you like to make a motion?
Can I move that we approve both of them at the same time, or do we have to do two separate?
Looks like it's okay. Yep.
I'll move that.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, second by Councilmember Matthew. That's who I saw first. Okay, thank you. So we are voting on items 7J and 7L together.
That
Okay.
is correct. Councilmember Matthew,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Urban,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, some items 7G and 7L passed. There are no nays to announce. Next item on the agenda is, well, item 7F pulled by Councilmember Crable. Councilmember Crable, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. This 7F has to do with adding collection fees and attorney fees to judgment and adding collection fees and attorney fees to some traffic violations. Kelby Cumpston, who sometimes shares his thoughts to us, addressed this concern. And then I think Lori Bergner from the League of Women Voters, addressed the issue pretty well with regard to the concern that these fees would have on the people living in poverty or in the line of poverty, including the working poor. So I'd like to table this item. So I move to table this item until we have more information on the impact of these fees, and also basically how much do we expect to collect, from those fees? How much do we pay right now? All those types of things, and then work with stakeholders like the League of Women Voters. So again, I would move to table this indefinitely until we have that information.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Crable to table and a second by Councilmember Ward. Any others would like to jump in or? Okay, I see Councilmember Bolin.
Did you say table it indefinitely or to a date certain?
Indefinitely, so that the city can let us know, when they're ready with the information.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Doesn't look like I see anybody else. So
Mayor, we do have Councilmember Crumpler and Councilmember Motney with their hands up.
Oh, okay, I can't, oh, sorry, it's way over there in the corner on the screen, sorry. Okay. All right, well, we'll just go with Councilmember Montagne then. Let's start with yours, if that's okay with you, Councilmember Crumpler, because I couldn't see who had it first. Thank you.
That's fine. I just have a few questions. First of all, it looks like these are actually hard costs that the city is incurring. And these costs then, if not borne by the person who owes the past due debt, they would be distributed across the balance of the taxpayers in our community. So I just wanted to confirm, these are hard costs that are incurred in collections. Is that correct?
I'm not sure on that. I don't know if that's something that staff can answer.
Yes, and Corporate Councilor Jurgens is going to answer.
Yes, that is correct, council member. I know that Scott Rathbun is also listening in on the meeting, but this is specifically to address a $13 charge that the city gets charged for collections for parking tickets when they have to pursue the fine.
And secondly, and just looking at the code for McLean County in reference to the public comment that was made earlier, it appears that they tack on a 15% upcharge for any amount due pre-collection, even at the 90-day mark for their fines and fees, and they draw from those to offset their collection costs. I just make that comment for comparison because, I believe it was implied that they don't pass through these costs. And then my last question again is about the amount of the revenue that we're talking about. And Scott, I think you just answered that.
Well, Jeff made a comment, and I want to clarify, Jeff, that the $13 is added on by the collection firm. So, currently that's not specifically out of pocket for the city, but this amendment was to kind of formalize and clarify in the event, we have, we're trying to look at this specifically the parking debt. We have a lot of, I guess, habitual violators, people that owe multiple thousands of dollars that we may potentially have to try to address in other fashions related to potentially taking them to court, et cetera. And we know we will have substantial hard costs for that. And we're also trying to address potentially using the local debt recovery program with the state of Illinois with this fee, the fee that the collection firm adds for the parking violations. They are asking us to formalize that in our code as well. So, part of this is a housekeeping amendment, and part of it is to give us flexibility in moving forward with some of these substantial debts that are owed to us. So, we do have substantial expenses related to parking enforcement in general, and the orderly management of that. So this would help offset that.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Councilmember Crumpler?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate Lori Bergner's comments, and Jeff, I appreciate your motion to table this. I wonder, are there cases or examples in other communities where this has been tried or been implemented, and whether it did make any difference in collection of some of the money that's owed to the municipalities. I'm always, in general, I'm in favor of taking time to study questions and making sure we're doing the right thing. It definitely worries me a little bit because I do know that there, as Scott mentioned, there's a lot of money owed here, and so I hope that if we do tape this, excuse me, we can investigate it in a timely fashion so that we can come to a decision that's best for the community. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have Councilmember Urban who was waving her hand, and then Councilmember Craybill. I'll give you another opportunity to speak. Okay, Councilmember Urban.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm not going to say something that I wanted to come across as disrespect, but there's one thing that I do know. People that are financially marginalized, they know to pay their debts, whether it's parking ticket or some other type of fine. Because when they live on the edge, a lot of them a flat tire away from catastrophe. They're not going to let those types of penalties or debts interfere with them providing for their families. What I'm more likely to be inclined is that a lot of these debts belong to people who are just arrogant and are not wanting to pay the debt. And they know that when the bill's not turned into collection, there's no penalty to them. And what we're really doing, I feel like, in passing this ordinance, again, no disrespect to we League of Women's Voters or to Lori, we need to move this forward so that there is an enforcement and a penalty towards the people who are just setting aside these debts with arrogance and not with responsibility. So Jeff, unfortunately, I won't be agreeing with you and I'll be voting no to your motion. And that's where I'm at with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Urban. Councilmember Crable?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to ask, I did try to take a look at the Office of the Comptroller, where is that? The state's local debt recovery program. Is the intent to use both the Comptroller's office and this program as well as private debt collectors?
We have a relationship with a collections firms that are associated with our parking system, our parking vendor that's been in effect, I think, since before I've been with the city. So parking citations that matured past 60 days are automatically turned over just to the collections side of this firm. And really the activity that occurs there is, this additional fee is added and additional notices have gone out. But what we've seen is just an accumulation of debt over 300,000. We have 10 individuals that owe over $5,000 each. So this is trying to address that issue for the city. And sorry if I'm going off on the wrong tangent here, but the local debt recovery program would be essentially trying to take the, working with the collections firms to format the data in a way that we could submit to the state. But the state is requiring us to formalize any additional fees that are not specifically outlined in our code, formalize those in our code.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question, Councilmember Crable.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sounds good. I think Councilmember Matthew, I was gonna say, we've debated this at length, but maybe not.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I apologize for jumping into the last second. I'll support tabling this because I'm wondering, I think that D is right, that there are definitely some individuals that are probably ignoring their obligations for whatever reason. But I think that there's probably an off chance as well that we've got some people who simply aren't paying them because they can't afford to. I'm wondering if we could put a provision in with where somebody could, a low income provision like we have for some of our other programs, where a person could take the opportunity to apply for a discounted fine or something of that nature if they can justify a low income situation. So it was just a thought that I had, that if we took a little bit of time and thought about that, maybe we could copy something we've already done in one of our other programs and try to not lump everybody into the same structure. And I think it's worth taking a little bit of time to think about if there's a way to do that before we move forward. So I would support tabling it until we have a little bit of time to think about that.
Okay, thank you. Earlier, it looked like Councilmember Emig might want to say something. Not trying to force your hand, but
Oh, yeah, literally, as my hand.
Oh, your hand goes up? Okay.
And then we keep shifting as we do. I think that for me too, I would like to table this and perhaps not indefinitely, but maybe Alderman Crable could designate a time by which we revisit it. Mostly because I think for me, it's what's getting conflated here is, whether or not to turn these debts over to a collection agency versus the fees that we're already incurring, and how to offset that. And I would just like a little bit more information going forward about big picture ramifications and the nature of what it is we're trying to clean up here. The idea of waiting, I think, is really important to just make sure that we're good. We've covered all of our bases as much as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Emig. Councilmember Craybill.
Thank you, Mayor. Based on Alderwoman Emig's comment, I would amend my motion to table until the second meeting in March.
Okay, is that accepted by the seconder of the motion? Okay, awesome. All right, it's a good way to go to a vote.
Just for clarification, the second council meeting is March 28th.
March 28th, okay.
Okay, Councilmember Matthey,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowland,
Yes, and thank you for amending.
Councilmember Motney,
No.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
No.
Councilmember Urban,
No.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The item passes. Madam Clerk, would you announce the nays?
Councilmember Motney, Councilmember Becker, Councilmember Urban.
Okay, fantastic. We do not have any items on the regular agenda, so we're gonna go ahead and move directly to the city manager's discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll be very brief. Phil, I think I have 2 slides. Indoor Farmers Market, this continues to do very well for the community, very well received, and we see a tremendous participation. Next slide. Celebrating female business owners. This is First Friday, and that will be on Friday, March 4th, 5 to 8 p.m. downtown. Then I was just going to share, Mayor, that wanted to recognize all of the city staff and our regional partners with the snowstorm that we had last week, and our eyes are on the forecast later this week. But truly commend police, fire, parks, facilities, public works, Catherine with the messaging that she does for the city. Darren Wolf, who leads the communications center, IT, making sure that we can stand up our city employees so that they have the ability to work at home. The regional partners, I want this community and the region to understand how much we actually communicate with one another. Eric Hodges is the emergency management director at ISU, but he leads a group that's made up of public and private entities so that we discuss the forecast, the deployment of resources in an event like this, and they do it extremely well. Shift gears. I wanted to go back to the recognition. Tina Swanson is one of our HR employees, works for Nicole Albertson, our HR director, and appreciate the opportunity to recognize their efforts. And it is a tremendous job that they do. And it is the 11th year that we've received this award. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is mayor's discussion. I think I've said a lot today. And the only thing that I'm going to add to this is that I will not be at the next meeting because I will be out of town and on my way driving back for soccer and things like that, family stuff. So, so yours truly, one Jamie Matthew will be presiding over the meeting. Yes, and also want to say, just like the city manager said, just thank you to the staff for all the work that was done during the snowstorm. Definitely a significant event. I also appreciate the patience from the community as the staff worked to clear all of our roads. It's not an easy job to do. So we're definitely very, very thankful that, people were able to fairly quickly, I think, given the amount of snow, to be able to get back to work and their typical activities. So definitely appreciate that. And I think that is all I have. Council member discussion. Okay, I think I have Council member Bolin, Council member Matthew, we'll just do Hollywood Squares then. Go around this way. Okay, Councilmember Bolin, go ahead.
I just want to echo the thanks to the staff, specifically the snow removal. Living out in Ward 2, I know it's a challenge to get out here. There was a lot of drifting, and the crews did a great job. So thank you.
Okay, awesome. Councilmember Matthew.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I was going to say much the same thing, that I appreciated all the work that everybody did. And I just wanted to remind residents that, it's their job to clear off sidewalks and for their personal property, for their businesses. If they have rental property, it is the rental property's owner's responsibility to make sure that the sidewalks are cleared off. And I say this because I was driving today and saw at least a half a dozen people who were walking in the street because the sidewalks had not been cleared off where they were. And that was in, various parts of Bloomington, west side and east side. And so we got more snow potentially coming at us this week and, Wednesday and maybe again on the weekend. And we've got to make sure that those sidewalks get cleaned off, including if you have a corner lot like I do, you've got to clean off both sides to make sure that people have a safe walking path. We still have a lot of people who have to walk to get to bus stops and things of that nature. So please do your part for the community.
Okay, thank you. I see Councilmember Motney.
Hi, I just wanted to make sure that we're going to be seeing the flock safety proposal coming back to us at the next meeting. I understand that was pulled because of 2 or 3 failed efforts for the public safety group to take a look at that. In alignment with their purview, it generally wouldn't be required for them to review it. Like to make sure that we equip our police force with the technology that they need to appropriately solve crimes in our community.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cribbill.
Thank you, Mayor. I again wanted to echo the city manager and others of us that have thanked Public Works, first responders, and others. Based on what Tim said, I think it was basically a all hands on deck effort. But I mean, that's just one thing. I think our city manager, the administration, directors, all of the employees do a great job each and every day, and they care about the work that they do. And if there's a mistake, they feel bad about it and they try to correct it. So, and this is all during a pandemic. And the second thing, I don't know if anybody mentioned the Tour de Chocolate. Is that still on this Friday? I didn't hear anybody mention it, so I just wanted to
Good
confirm
save.
that.
Yes, it's still on this Friday.
All right, very good. All right, I'll be there.
Those are things you can't cancel.
That's right.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes, excuse me, just real quickly, I just wanted to echo Councilmember Motney's question about the automatic license plate reader cameras coming back on the agenda. I've had a real opportunity to reach out to residents of my ward, and they had really strong feelings about this issue. So I'm looking forward to further discussion and voting on it very soon. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Ward.
Thank you. I also would like to say thank you to our city staff for the help during the snowstorm. In particular, one of my colleagues got some help getting his car unstuck on his way to the hospital. So to go to work, and at a time when there are lots of staffing crunches, it was very welcome. So thank you. Today also marks the 4th anniversary of the Parkland, Florida high school shootings. And as tragic as that event was, I am compelled to draw our attention to the ongoing issue of violence in our own community. Over the weekend, Bloomington saw its 2nd shooting death in as many months. And yesterday, a group gathered outside the Law and Justice Center to stand with and weep with the family of Trayvonte Kirkwood as legal proceedings continue more than 3 years after his shooting death. I would ask us to observe a moment of silence in recognition of these deaths, but I think the time for silence is over. To that end, I have submitted a council member initiative calling for a special commission to address the issue of shootings in our own neighborhoods. It is my hope that in the coming weeks, we as a council can not only begin to break our silence, but to take comprehensive, actionable steps to break the cycle of violence, because the time for action is long overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ward. Anybody else? Okay. I think at this point, we are I'm going to ask for a motion for us to go into executive session.
I'll make that
pers-
motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Per section 2 of C21 of 5 ILCS 120 to complete a semi-annual review of closed session minutes. So we have a motion by Councilmember Bolin and then a second by Councilmember Ward. And Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Matthey,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Emig,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Urban,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Crable,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Council is entering executive session per section 2 of C21 of 5 ILCS 120 to complete a semi-annual review of closed session minutes. The room must be clear during executive session. Council will resume the open session meeting following executive session. No additional action will be taken except to adjourn regular session. Thank you. Did you
That was very meta.
We're good to go? Okay. Can I have a motion to return to open session and adjourn the meeting?
I will make that motion.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Bolin.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Emig. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, you guys have a good night. Happy
Happy
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.